Hey guys, Alex here with Armadillo Armament, and today we are taking a look at the Holosun HM3X, a 3x magnifier, a improved magnifier by Holosun from their prior generations, and why I think it's absolutely fantastic. This is going to be a really quick review, right? I do not have much to say about it, which is a rarity. If you've been following this channel, you know that I like to rip products apart if they do not meet my expectations or if they do not meet the company's expectations, and this is not going to be one of those videos because they did a pretty freaking fantastic job. I have had this on my rifle for give or take about 1,500 rounds now, which really isn't that much in the grand scheme of things, but it has been mounted and dismounted multiple times. It has looked through a EOTech as well as this SCRS, and it has gotten a lot of good reps. It's come with me to a lot of range trips, and overall I have been able to create and develop a good opinion of the product. Now, before we jump into this, let's get some preliminaries out of the way. Guys, if you want to support me, you can buy really cool patches of armadillos with quad nods and MCXs. Use code armadillo, you'll get 5% off your order. I'll also plant a tree and remove 1 pound of junk from the ocean for every single item in that order. Information's on the screen now. So, why do I own this? You guys know me. I love my EOTech, I love Trijicon, I love Glock, right? So why would I have Holosun products? Well, believe it or not, I love Holosun too, our Chinese overlords. And this was provided to me by a contact at Holosun as well as this magnifier, the HM3X and the SCRS. Now, originally, this was going to be a kind of a hybrid video where I talked about the two, but I really wanted to give a quick review on this HM3X and to give my recommendation before we talk about this at a later time. This is a very interesting optic and I'll have a lot more to say. This is just a freaking tube. It's basically an ACOG that's meant to go behind your optic, but hey, you know what? Simplicity is great. You guys know me. So let's jump into the specs here, and I'm going to put some information on the screen now because I don't memorize those freaking specs, but this is a aluminum 3x magnifier. Now, on my primary weapon system, my MCX, I am running a 5x magnifier. This is a 3X, and let's get into doctrine a little bit here. 3X is widely considered to be kind of the best magnification range, and that's definitely an opinionated topic. I prefer 5X because where I live, there are a lot of open spaces, and I like to have as much magnification as possible. Let me grab my rifle and show you the 5X I have on that. There we go. EOTech 5X magnifier, G45 to be specific. Now, like I said, I much prefer the 5X variants just because I like to have as much magnification as possible. But back to the initial conversation, a 3x magnifier is going to have significantly better eye box, as well as you're not going to need to be nearly as close to the magnifier in order to get a proper sight picture, as well as I find a 5X magnifier can impede the image a little bit more than a 3x. Now, what I mean by that is magnifiers aren't really... Their point of creating issues isn't really based on the magnifier, it's instead based on the red dot. So what I mean by that is when you take a 3x or a 5x magnifier and you put it behind a really quality dot, let's say an EOTech, let's say an Aimpoint T2, even a pretty poor magnifier is going to do that job pretty well. The issues definitely creep up once you get into the lower end spectrum of red dots. Let's say you're putting it behind, maybe not a Holosun dot, but you're putting it behind one of those like 510s, right? Those have not amazing glass quality, or an MRO, right? An old gen MRO, especially a LED based red dot instead of a holographic reticle like an EOTech, right? So the reason I bring all that up is because magnifiers are very simple. They are tubes, they are basically little ACOGs, they're little prism scopes. And the only thing that companies really need to do, at least in my opinion, in order to make me happy, is create good glass for the magnifier, and then create a good mounting system and a robust mounting system that isn't going to break or wobble or whatever have you. And now getting into the review of this optic, over that 1,500 rounds, I have not seen that to be the case. I will have some talking points to go over with you and why I recommend it, as well as things I don't recommend, but TLDR, it has been fantastic. I haven't seen any issues with it, and to be honest, I recommend this over a majority of magnifiers on the market. So let's break it down. Talking about the features of the magnifier first. This is obviously a flip to side magnifier, What that means is that it's going to flip to the right side. You can also flip this mount around and bring it to the left if you would so desire, but left people shouldn't have rights, obviously, so not really something I concern myself with. Alternatively, you can put this on a omni mount. This is the omni mount. So what this does is it gives it flip to center capability. Now, why would you want this? Well, I'll make a review of that in the future and go a little bit more in depth on it. But basically, if you do find flipping off to the side a little bit annoying, or it is more of a, I think of the Omni mount as a mount that is going to stay on my rifle 100% of the time, and I can just flip it out of the way and not worry about it, whereas a flipped aside definitely has the luxury of being a little bit more out of the way for night vision use, but it is a potential snag hazard, and a lot of the times you are going to want to rip that completely off the rifle. Speaking of ripping it complete off the rifle, you guys know me. I am a huge fan of QD, and there we go. It does have a quick disconnect feature. QD is a double-edged sword. QD mounts, QD interfaces are definitely less reliable than a standard like crossbolt design. That being said, the ability to just rip this off my rifle and instead slim down to an either lighter package, as well as enhance my night vision use, because once again, your tube is going to be sitting about right here. Even with this off to the side, it can sometimes get in the way. It also just provides a good little magnifier. I have unironically gone to the range with friends, and while spotting them, I have peeled a magnifier off one of my rifles and used that to look at targets downrange. Right? Is it as good as a set of binoculars? No, but hey, it's an additional feature, and ounces equal pounds, and you can just rip this off your rifle if you don't foresee yourself needing it for the day. Maybe put it in a pouch, maybe leave it at home. We're not doing very much recon in the civilian world, so I don't know. But whatever you want to do, you can do it. Now, this does have a adjustable diopter in the back, which, I mean, no complaints there, guys. It's a diopter. It's worked everywhere as well as it needs to. I have pretty good vision, and I really haven't even had to adjust it at all. Now, it does have a very good adjustment method, and you're going to want to use something like a Holosun tool right here, but that is going to fit in, and then it is going to adjust. Right? When you're zeroing a magnifier, you aren't really zeroing the magnifier. Instead, you're zeroing not the dot, but where the dot sits inside the window of the magnifier, right? So you will notice that if you take this off multiple times and put it back on, you may have a slight wander, as well as even flipping it to the side. It will eventually, the dot may be a tiny bit more to the left or a tiny bit more to the right. That's just a feature of every single magnifier, because, I mean, guys, how are you supposed to keep something perfectly zero when it's just like doing that over and over, right? That being said, it's perfectly fine. I definitely prefer something like the G45 over there, which I can just adjust on the fly, and I don't need to have a tool to do it. That being said, this is probably likely a little bit more robust than just having those free floating turrets. And honestly, I really adjusted it once and never had to adjust it after that one time. Now, over here, we have the opposite. That's how you adjust right to left. Now, over here, this is the tightening kind of crossbow for the QD design. If you do want this to be a little bit tighter, you obviously want to tighten this up a little bit. This way, when you do QD it, it is going to be a rock solid interface. Otherwise, it can fall off or be over tight. Make sure not to really crank and cinch those things down. If I am going to critique Holosun, and this is something that I've purely only ever heard, I've never had any issues with their QD product, but I definitely have heard that it is maybe one of the weaknesses. I mean, it's a weakness of a lot of products. It's not just a Holosun thing, but I would say that I have heard these things break a little bit. So just make sure you're not over tightening them, and that really shouldn't be an issue. Now, getting to the most important part, and I will be having videos on the screen throughout this video, but that's going to be the glass quality. Going back to what I said previously, the glass quality is really more dependent on the red dot than it is the magnifier. That being said, if you have a bad red dot, it will make the magnifier look worse. And if you have a bad magnifier, it'll make the red dot look worse, right? The glass on this, I have very good vision. I am not, and this is crazy, I am not that much of an asshole that I am able to say, oh yeah, my $500, $600 glass on my G45 is better than this $200 optic. Okay. When I grab this, I immediately notice the ease of use, whereas my G45, I really need to kind of get in there. With this, the eye box is much better. Once again, I'll put stats on the screen for all that. I do find that the 3x magnifier does lend itself to a lot more shorter range distances, a lot better, right? So my G45, I can reach out further, but when I am shooting closer range and I'm using something like a 3X, I notice that I can move a little bit and my eye box doesn't completely get destroyed. I notice I don't need to be as close to the magnifier, and the shooting experience with this has been fantastic. It's very difficult to articulate on video and to show you on video the glass quality, but I'll be trying to do so. There aren't any issues. I expect to look through a $200 magnifier or less and see smudginess, right? I expect less than optimal glass, as anyone would. And that's just not the case here. And I think the reason for that is the simplicity. Once again, when I get into red dots, I'm gonna have a lot of things to say about this. The magnifiers really are extremely simple prisms at the end of the day. And because of that, they're able to put all that R&D, all that technology, all that quality into just making a good looking piece of glass, guys. And that's exactly what this is, right? So my final opinion on this really is that it's 100% worth your time. If I haven't articulated it well enough, it's not that I regret my G45, but if this was given to me, which by the way, if I didn't mention already, this was given to me by Holosun, both of these. If this was given to me by Holosun 2 years ago, I may have never purchased a G45, right? It's really good, and I'm really struggling to come up with any complaints possible. I guess maybe, you know, free-floating turrets, or not free-floating, but turrets that I can move on its own. Maybe make it a little bit shorter, I guess, but really that's gonna, you know, adjust the eye box. That's something that the revised 3x EOTech magnifiers, they make smaller versions, and that makes it so it's a lot more difficult to get on those. So even that's not really as much of a complaint. This also does obviously back scoop, so if you want to mount it all the way back here, you could. I wouldn't recommend that. I like to be clear of my charging handle, but at the end of the day, that is an option. But going back to the review, guys, my hands are tied. I really don't have anything negative to say. And this is one of my first sponsored products I've ever really gotten, but I've been an asshole to this. I've thrown it around. I haven't dropped it onto concrete like Aaron, but I've definitely done my fair share of dropping this and really just kicking it around with my kit. I haven't seen any issues. I haven't seen any issues with the mount. The glass continues to impress me. I'm not getting any weird kind of like diopter issues. I'm not getting any weird smudginess. I'm not ever noticing that, you know, I'm not noticing any deficiencies that I would expect from a $200 product. And that's just part of the course for Holosun when you really think about it. My Acro, this is a premium $600 optic, which is absolutely fantastic. I have a review of my channel about this, $500, $600. This EPS carry, I mean, guys, gun to my head, I really couldn't tell you that this shooting experience is this much better than the EPS. And I think that translates over to their magnifiers, which I'm very pleasantly able to see and say and really inform you guys of. If you're looking for a magnifier for a duty rifle, as far as I'm concerned, I think this fits the bill. If you're looking for a magnifier just to really mess around with and dip your toes into magnifiers, yeah, definitely get the HM3X. And if you're looking for a magnifier for a budget build, a super budget build, guys, this can be had for about $200 MSRP, so definitely a little bit less than that. You can probably find this for about $150. And once again, I really don't have any complaints about it. Holosun, thank you for sending this out to me for review. I will continue to evaluate it, and of course, I will be evaluating this further into the future. But guys, this has been Alex with Armadillo Armament. I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you in the next one.